Simple woman rescues single dad from drowning in flood-stricken Houston. 7 days later, what he did left her speechless. In the chaos of the historic Houston flood, part of 2025's devastating southern storm surge, Lily Monroe, a quiet diner waitress and devoted daughter, never expected her life to change forever. She was just a simple woman, slipping past night shadows and high water on her walk home, when she spotted him, a single dad clinging to life and his young child, bobbing helplessly in the current. With no rescue team in sight, Lily dove into the frigid, debris-filled floodwaters, risking everything to save them. She pulled them ashore, soaked, terrified, and shaken, but forced herself to vanish into the night, convinced this moment would fade like any other. What Lily couldn't have predicted was that exactly 7 days later, the man she rescued, once drowning, now determined, would appear at her door and do something that would forever change her world. Lily had worked the closing shift at Rosie's Diner. The storm had already started when she arrived, steady sheets of rain tapping on the windows, thunder humming low across the sky. Customers thinned out before the kitchen shut down. The manager offered rides, but Lily always walked. She didn't like owing anyone. Her mother was home alone, and Lily needed to get back. By the time she locked the door behind her, the streets had disappeared under fast-moving water. Still, she pulled up her hood and moved through the dark, sticking close to buildings, eyes down. A block from the bridge, she heard a scream. At first she thought it was a cat, but then it came again, louder, jagged. Help! She froze. Looked up. The bridge was half submerged now, the guardrails bent and useless. That's when she saw him. A man, maybe mid-30s, was waist-deep in rising water, clutching a child to his chest. A little girl wrapped in a soaked pink blanket. Her head drooped against his shoulder, unmoving. The man shouted again, panic breaking his voice. Somebody help us. I can't hold her. Lily didn't think. She dropped her bag and sprinted into the flood. The current tried to knock her over. Water rushed around her thighs, pulling at her legs. Debris floated past, branches, trash, something that looked like a bicycle tire. But her eyes never left the girl. The man's knees buckled as she reached him. He slipped, losing grip. The girl began to drift. No, no, please, he screamed. Lily lunged forward, catching the blanket just before it disappeared. She pulled hard, struggling to drag the small body toward the edge of the bridge. Her fingers slipped. She tried again, and again. Finally, she hauled the child onto a concrete ledge and collapsed beside her. The man crawled up next to them, coughing, soaked, shaking. She's not breathing, he gasped. Lily turned the girl over. Water trickled from her nose. No sound, no movement. Lily pressed her palms to the child's chest and began compressions. 1, 2, 3. Breathe, baby, come on. The father sobbed beside her. Come on, Lily whispered. You don't leave like this. She kept going. 10 compressions, then breath, then again. Then the girl coughed, choked, gasped. Lily let out a sob. The man cried louder, clutching his daughter to his chest. Oh, thank God, thank you, oh my God. Lily sat back, soaked, exhausted. Her heart pounded. Her body screamed from the cold. But they were alive. The man looked up at her. You saved us. You, what's your name? She shook her head, too overwhelmed to speak. He reached for her hand. She pulled away. I have to go, she said. Wait. Please, let me thank you. She stood and backed away. No one ever does, she said quietly, then turned and ran. She made it home 2 hours later. Her legs were numb. Her fingers were white. She stripped in the hallway and tossed her clothes in the tub, too soaked to salvage. She turned on the space heater and wrapped herself in the only dry towel she had. Her mother was asleep in the bedroom, unaware. Lily curled up on the couch, unable to cry. Her body ached from every direction, but it wasn't the pain that haunted her. It was the look in the man's eyes, the way he held his daughter, the weight of a life in her hands, and how fast she'd disappeared afterward. She didn't even know his name. For the next 2 days, the city stayed underwater. Buses stopped. Power flickered. Phone signals dropped. Lily couldn't go to work. The diner was flooded. Her backup job at the nursing home had closed. Residents relocated to a shelter near the convention center. No hours. No pay. On the 3rd day, she went back to work cleaning a flooded bakery uptown for $20 under the table. On the 5th day, she lined up for food boxes at a volunteer tent. On the 6th, she walked to the hospital and asked if they needed extra hands. They said no. All the while, the image of that man clung to her like a second skin. Not because he was handsome, though he had been. Not because he'd called her a hero, though he had. But because he looked at her like she mattered. No one had looked at her like that in a long, long time. On the 7th day, Lily returned from the store with a sack of rice and a box of tea. Her mother was asleep again, wheezing softly. Lily tucked a blanket around her and stepped into the kitchen. Then came the knock. It wasn't the landlord. He usually yelled. It wasn't the neighbor. She never knocked twice. This knock was steady, firm. Lily opened the door and froze. It was him. Same man. Now clean, dry, and standing beside a little girl in pigtails and a pink jacket. "I'm sorry to bother you," he said gently. "I've been looking for you." Lily's heart raced. The girl waved shyly. "Hi. I don't understand," Lily said, stepping back. He reached into his coat and pulled out an envelope. "This is for you," he said. "You didn't leave your name, but I couldn't forget your face. We were able to track you through the shelter cameras near the bridge." Lily stared at the envelope. Her hands didn't move. "I don't want anything," she whispered. "It's not charity," he said. "It's gratitude. And something else." The girl clung to his leg. "I'd like to talk to you. Just for a minute," he said. "Please." Lily looked down at the envelope, then back at his face. Something about him felt different now. Calmer. Focused. But it wasn't just his life that had changed that night. Hers was about to change, too. Lily didn't move. She stood in her doorway in a wrinkled t-shirt and faded pajama bottoms, holding a half-torn grocery bag in one hand and staring at the man she'd pulled from a flood 7 nights ago. He looked different now. Dry, clean-shaven, confident in a way that unsettled her. His jacket looked expensive, the kind that didn't see water or Houston bus stops. The little girl next to him, his daughter, was smiling nervously, gripping a stuffed turtle like it was armor. The man held out the envelope again. "I'm Noah," he said gently. "Noah Greer. I'm the guy you saved." Lily didn't take the envelope. She glanced down the hallway. Her mother was still asleep. The light from the cracked kitchen bulb buzzed above her. Her hands itched with nerves. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "I needed to find you." "How did you?" "The fire department had footage. Shelter logs. A few volunteers helped me narrow it down." She didn't know whether to be impressed or afraid. Noah stepped back slightly, reading her body. "I'm not here to make trouble. I promise. I couldn't stop thinking about you. What you did for me. For my daughter." He looked down at the girl. "This is Ava." Ava gave a tiny wave, then hid behind his leg. "You shouldn't have come," Lily whispered. "I don't want anything." "I know," he said. "That's why I had to come." He held the envelope toward her again, arm steady. "This isn't charity. It's acknowledgement. Respect." Lily's jaw clenched. "You think money fixes what I've seen? What I go through every day?" "No," Noah said, lowering the envelope. "But maybe it can open a door that's been locked for you." He didn't try to hand it to her again. He just placed it on the ground in front of the door. His eyes never left hers. "I'm not trying to pay you off, Lily. I'm trying to thank you." I didn't know how else to say it. She flinched when he said her name. "I didn't tell you who I was," she murmured. He smiled gently. "No, but Ava remembered," she said. "The woman with the strong arms. She told Daddy her name when she was breathing for me." Lily's chest tightened. She looked at the girl again. Ava was staring at her like a ghost. Noah backed away slowly. "If you don't want anything else from us, that's fine. But if you ever do." He pulled a card from his pocket and laid it gently on top of the envelope. "I'll be around." Then he nodded once and walked away. Lily stared at the card and envelope for a long time after they were gone. She didn't pick them up until the hallway light flickered. She locked the door, peeled open the envelope, and stared. Inside was a cashier's check. $10,000. Lily sank to the floor. She couldn't remember the last time she'd seen a comma in her bank balance. The card was thick, textured. It just read, "Noah Greer. Founder, Greer Technologies." She blinked. She'd heard that name. A software company. Some kind of AI startup. She thought she remembered seeing something about it in a magazine at the laundromat last year. She didn't think much of it at the time. Just another tech company owned by someone with good teeth and fancy shoes. But now the face had a pulse. A child. A near-death story. A soul. And he was standing on her doorstep handing her more money than she'd seen in her entire life. She didn't cash the check. Not that day. Not the next. She stuffed it in her Bible, between Psalms and Lamentations, and stared at it every night after her mother fell asleep. By Thursday, the water had finally receded enough for Rosie's to reopen. Lily went back to bussing tables. Customers complained about the coffee tasting burnt. One asked for avocado toast. Lily smiled, nodded, and kept moving. But every step felt different. Every scrape of a mop. Every clang of a plate. Because for the first time in years, her life was no longer stuck in survival mode. Something had shifted. Noah had found her, and he hadn't asked for anything in return. Friday morning, a black sedan pulled up in front of the diner. Lily saw it through the window while refilling ketchup bottles. Ava was in the back seat, waving. Noah stepped out. Lily froze. He didn't come inside. He just stood beside the car with a thermos in one hand and a paper bag in the other. He gave her a small nod and placed the bag on the hood. Then he got back into the car and drove off. Lily didn't go out right away. She waited until the lunch crowd picked up and her manager went on smoke break. Then she walked outside, heart pounding. The paper bag held a wrapped sandwich. The thermos was still warm. There was a note. I figured you're always the one making food for everyone else. Thought I'd return the favor. Noah. She didn't know what to do with the feeling in her chest. It wasn't fear, or dread, or anger. It was seen. She hadn't felt that in a long time. She wasn't sure she trusted it yet. But she didn't throw the sandwich away. She ate it on the back steps before her shift ended. And when she got home that night, she took the check out of her Bible and put it in her purse. Just in case. That Sunday morning, Noah called. She still didn't know how he'd gotten her number. His voice was calm. I was wondering if I could take you to dinner. Just to talk. Lily didn't say yes. But she didn't say no either. She just stood in her kitchen, staring at the calendar marked with overdue bills, and said quietly, I don't do dates. Not a date, he replied. Just dinner. As people who shared something extraordinary. Lily hesitated, then finally said, all right. She didn't tell her mother where she was going that night, just that she wouldn't be long. She wore the cleanest jeans she had, and a blouse she'd forgotten was buried at the bottom of the laundry basket. Noah picked her up himself. No car service. No show. He opened the door for her. Ava wasn't in the back seat this time. He took her to a quiet restaurant outside Midtown, where the lights were soft and the music didn't compete with the sound of their conversation. They didn't talk about money. They didn't talk about the check. He asked about her mother, her life, her work, her dreams. Noah listened like nothing else mattered. And Lily, for the first time in years, let herself speak without lowering her voice. When the bill came, she tried to reach for her purse. He stopped her with a gentle smile. I owe you far more than dinner, Lily. And as they drove back, silence settled around them. Not awkward, not forced, but full. Like something unspoken was growing between them. She didn't know what it meant yet. But as he dropped her off and said goodnight, Lily realized something. She wasn't invisible anymore. And something deeper than survival had started. Lily didn't sleep the night after dinner. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her heart still unsettled by Noah's voice, his calm gaze across the table, the way he listened, not out of politeness, but like every word she said mattered. No one had ever looked at her like that while she talked about cleaning tables, couponing for groceries, or fighting the pharmacy for her mom's oxygen refills. She'd meant for it to be one dinner. Nothing more. But the conversation kept echoing in her chest. Noah hadn't flirted. He hadn't overreached. He'd asked thoughtful questions. He'd paid attention to the parts of her life most people overlooked. Still, it unnerved her. She'd saved his life. That should have been the end of the story. So why was she starting to feel like it was only the beginning? At work the next day, Lily couldn't focus. She overfilled a coffee cup, snapped at a customer who touched her arm too casually, and dropped a full tray of pancakes. Her manager, Carla, pulled her aside in the back hallway. You all right? Lily forced a smile. Yeah, just tired. Carla squinted at her. You look somewhere else. That flood finally catching up with you? Maybe, Lily replied. But it wasn't the flood. It was Noah. His words. That subtle warmth in his voice. The way he'd looked at her like she wasn't just some passing stranger who did a brave thing, but someone he genuinely wanted to know. That scared her more than any storm ever had. 2 days later, he called again. Lily didn't pick up the first time. Or the second. The third time, she answered with a clipped hello. Hey, it's Noah. Is this a bad time? She stared at the calendar on the fridge. The 26th. Her mother's Medicare appeal had just been denied again. Always kind of is, she said flatly. There was silence on the line. Right, he said softly. I just wanted to see how you were doing. I'm doing. Another pause. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't mean to add to your load. I'll let you go. Noah, wait, she blurted, and instantly hated how desperate she sounded. He stayed silent, letting her speak. I'm not good with people reaching out, she said. I don't know what to do with it. I'm not reaching out to trap you, he said gently. You gave me and my daughter our lives back. That's not something I take lightly. I didn't do it for attention. I know, he said. That's why I can't stop thinking about you. Her throat tightened. She closed her eyes. I just need space, she said finally. I'll respect that. And he did. For weeks. The next few days crawled by. Rosie's got busier again. Her tips improved slightly. Her mother had a good day, then a bad one. The heat came back to the apartment, though the tap still sputtered brown on some mornings. One evening after closing, Lily sat on the break room step with a hot paper cup of watery coffee, watching the sun drop behind downtown Houston. Everything still looked bruised from the flood, sidewalks stained with mud, trees still leaning, fences twisted and bent. But something about the air felt different, like life was trying to start again. She reached into her purse and pulled out the envelope Noah had left weeks ago. She stared at the check. She hadn't deposited it, not because she didn't need it, but because she didn't want the guilt that came with it. But now, she folded it and slid it into her wallet. She cashed it the next morning, used half to pay off the rent she'd been behind on. Another quarter went to new bedding for her mom. The rest she tucked away in an envelope and labeled breathing room. That night, she sent Noah a text. I used it. Thank you. No reply came for hours. Then finally, you didn't owe me that message, but I'm really glad you sent it. 2 weeks passed. Then, on a Saturday afternoon, Lily stepped out of the nursing home where she'd picked up a temporary cleaning shift. The sun was bright but cool for Houston. As she reached her bus stop, a little voice behind her called out, Miss Lily. She turned, and there was Ava, running full speed across the sidewalk, ponytail bouncing. Lily froze. Noah wasn't far behind, holding a tote bag and waving. Lily knelt as Ava collided into her arms. You remember me? Lily asked, stunned. You saved me, Ava whispered. The words were small but clear. Lily's arms trembled as she hugged her back. Noah reached them, out of breath. We were across the street at the clinic. I didn't expect. Me neither, Lily said, pulling away. Ava reached into her backpack and pulled out a folded drawing. It showed a stick figure woman with long black hair pulling a child from blue scribbles labeled flood. Next to them, a man and a smiling house. Lily blinked away tears. She draws that picture almost every week, Noah said. She makes me taller each time, he added with a grin. Lily laughed, really laughed, for the first time in a long time. They sat at the bus stop together for half an hour. Noah didn't push. He didn't bring up dinner, or checks, or anything heavy. They talked about Ava's drawings, Lily's job, the flood relief centers. Then, as the bus approached, Noah asked, Can I call you again sometime? Lily looked at Ava, then at the drawing, then at him. I think. I'd like that. That night, Lily pulled out a notebook and wrote something at the top of a clean page. Things I want to do for me. She stared at it for a long time. Then she wrote, Take a real vacation. Buy new shoes without guilt. Get mom a better oxygen tank. Try college again. Trust someone who hasn't let me down. She stared at the last line. Her hand hovered above it. Then she added, Maybe Noah? She didn't know what it meant. Not yet. But dinner had become something more than a thank you. And distance was no longer a wall. It was something she was learning how to cross. Lily wasn't used to smiling this much. She wasn't used to texting anyone back, either. But now, she found herself checking her phone every morning like it mattered, like someone out there actually wanted to hear how her day went. And for once, she didn't feel the need to shrink herself down to survive it. Noah didn't flood her with messages. He didn't overwhelm. He sent 1 or 2 a day, sometimes just a photo of Ava's latest doodle. Sometimes a question, what's your favorite childhood meal? Ever been to the coast? Simple things, curious things. She found herself answering them, slowly at first, then more freely. It had been almost a month since the flood. The city still smelled like mildew and ruin, but something in Lily felt lighter. She'd been living in the same Houston neighborhood her whole life, and for the first time, she was actually wondering what else was out there. until her past knocked on the door. It was a Wednesday. The sky was dry, traffic steady, and Lily had just come home from her shift at the nursing home. She dropped her keys, pulled off her shoes, and was halfway through reheating soup when there was a knock. Not the kind Noah used. His was always a soft double tap, never too eager. This knock was sharp, aggressive. She opened the door to see a man she hadn't spoken to in nearly 3 years. Marcus, a familiar ghost with anger stitched into his face. "Lily," he said, his voice low and bitter. "Heard you been on the news." She narrowed her eyes. "How'd you find me?" He shrugged. "Wasn't hard. Houston's small when you've got the right drinking buddies." Lily's stomach tightened. She didn't invite him in. "You came all this way to tell me that?" Marcus stepped closer. "Nah. I came to ask how a girl who used to beg me for diapers ended up hangin' with a tech millionaire." Lily felt her chest go cold. "I don't know what you're talking about," she lied. He scoffed. "Come on, Lil. You think I don't hear things? One minute you're wiping tables. Next thing, some man's driving around looking for the hero waitress who saved his kid. Then you vanish from the diner for 2 shifts. Now you're living better, walking lighter. What happened?" Lily tightened her grip on the doorframe. "I helped someone," she said. "That's it." He leaned in. "You always were good at helping people. What about me, huh? You gonna help me now that you've got billionaire friends?" Lily didn't flinch. "You lost the right to ask me for anything the day you walked out and left a hole in my rent and a warning on my credit." Marcus's face twisted. "So you think you're better than me now?" "No," she said coldly. "I've always been better than you. I just finally believe it." She stepped back and slammed the door. His fists hit the wood once, twice, then silence. She waited 5 full minutes before letting her body fall to the floor. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from fury. That night, Lily didn't respond to Noah's text, or the one after that. She wasn't sure why. Maybe shame. Maybe fear that her past would poison anything new. Or maybe she just didn't want to be seen again until she could look in the mirror without remembering Marcus's voice. But Noah didn't push. 3 days later, he sent her a voice message. It was short. "You don't owe me updates. I just want you to know I'm still here. No pressure. No timeline." Lily stared at her phone for a long time. Then she played the message again. And again. By the following weekend, Rosie's had a booth flooded with customers and not enough staff. Lily worked a double shift. She burned her wrist on a griddle, got cursed at by a man with too many teeth missing, and dropped a tray of milkshakes in the lap of a teenager who didn't tip anyway. She came home aching, starving, and dizzy. And Noah was there, sitting on the steps in front of her building, with Ava asleep in the back seat of the car. He stood as she approached. "I'm sorry," he said. "For what?" she replied, setting down her tote bag. "For showing up. Ava wanted to bring you something, and I didn't want to leave it on your steps again." He handed her a canvas. A painting. Acrylic. Simple strokes, but clear. It showed a woman standing in floodwaters, holding a child above her head. In the sky was a sun painted gold, shaped like a heart. Lily stared. "I didn't help her with it," Noah said. "She painted it herself." Lily swallowed. "She's talented. She's healing," he said. "Because of you." Lily sat down slowly. Noah didn't say anything else. He didn't ask questions. He just sat beside her, shoulder to shoulder, and waited. After several quiet minutes, Lily finally spoke. "My ex came by," she said. Noah nodded. "He wanted something. Didn't like that I had something he didn't give me." Noah said nothing. Just listened. She added, "I didn't take your check because I thought you owed me. I took it because, for once, I realized I didn't have to carry everything alone. That's all I wanted," he said softly. "For you to have room to breathe." She looked at him. "Why me, Noah?" He met her gaze. "Because you saved my daughter without a second thought. Because you disappeared without asking for anything. Because you never needed an audience to be a hero." Lily's throat tightened. Her eyes stung. "Don't put me on a pedestal," she whispered. "I fall hard." "I don't want a statue, Lily," he said. "I just want you to know that your life matters. Not because of what you did, but because of who you are." The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was full. That night, Lily placed Ava's painting on the wall across from her mother's bed. When her mother saw it the next morning, she smiled. "She drew you as you are," she said softly. "Bigger than the flood." Lily smiled faintly, and for the first time in years, she believed it. 2 weeks after the unexpected visit from her ex, Lily Monroe stood at the mirror of the diner's tiny employee bathroom, staring at herself like she was meeting a stranger. Her apron was stained with syrup. Her hair was pinned back, half slipping. But her eyes, they were alive in a way she didn't recognize. Somehow, after everything, after the flood, after Noah, after Marcus, she wasn't broken. Bent, yes, but standing. Something had shifted, and not just in her routines or finances. Her sense of worth had grown roots. Not from a man, not from the money, from truth. She was beginning to believe that what she gave the world mattered. And that was dangerous knowledge for a woman who'd spent most of her life being invisible. That evening, as the sky stretched pink over the bayou, Noah called. "I know you said no more surprises," he began. "But there's something I'd like to show you." Lily exhaled. "Does it involve press?" "No." "Charity?" "No." "Your daughter painting me as a superhero again?" He chuckled. "No, but now that you mention it, Ava is working on one with a cape." Lily grinned despite herself. "What is it?" "Just trust me for an hour." That phrase used to terrify her. Trust me. The same way people said, "You're safe now," when they didn't know her kind of danger. But with Noah, it felt like a door, not a trap. "Pick me up at 7, she said. He didn't tell her where they were going. The drive was quiet, comfortable. Ava wasn't with him this time, and that told her whatever he was about to show her, it wasn't about family sentiment. As they pulled into a quiet industrial district near downtown, Lily raised an eyebrow. "Is this a warehouse tour?" "Sort of," Noah said with a smile. He led her through a side gate and into a building that looked, at first glance, abandoned. But once inside, Lily saw something she didn't expect: light. The space was under construction, yes, but it wasn't dead. In the center of the room, amidst folded tarps, ladders, and unfinished drywall, stood a single, gleaming metal sign propped against a plywood wall. The Monroe Center, Emergency Response and Community Healing. Lily stopped breathing for a moment. "What is this?" Noah stepped beside her, his tone serious now. "When the flood hit, my daughter and I were lucky. But hundreds of people weren't. Emergency services were overwhelmed. Women like you, underpaid, unseen, did more saving than any institution did." He paused. "You dragged us out of a river and walked home alone. You didn't even ask for help afterward. That's not okay." Lily swallowed. Her heart thudded. "I bought this building last week," he continued. "I've partnered with a few healthcare providers and trauma specialists. This will be a place for people like you. For people who save others, but don't have anyone saving them." She stared at the sign. At her name, etched into steel. "I don't want publicity," she said. "You won't get any. I don't want this to be about me." "It's not. It's about everyone who's ever done the hard thing quietly." Lily's eyes brimmed. She turned away quickly, but he stepped closer. "I know you're not used to receiving," he said. "But this isn't gratitude anymore, Lily. It's alignment. You've spent your life making people feel human in their worst moments. This center? It'll let others do the same. For you. For Ava. For all the next Lils out there." Her voice cracked. "Why me, Noah? Why not just donate anonymously and disappear?" "Because," he said softly, "you didn't disappear. You stayed. And the world needs more of what you are." That night, she lay in bed replaying his words. The world needs more of what you are. No man had ever said that to her before. Not her father. Not Marcus. Not even her pastor growing up. They had praised her usefulness, never her worth. The next morning, Rosie's diner was packed. Orders flew in. Coffee overflowed. Lily moved fast, clearing plates, wiping counters. But something felt different. She wasn't there just for a paycheck anymore. She was standing in the only place that had ever seen her as less. And now, somehow, she was more. Carla, her manager, noticed too. "You floatin' or something?" she asked. "You've been humming." Lily blinked. "I have. Yeah. You look like someone gave you good news in a car." Lily smirked. "Maybe just good news." Carla winked. "Well, whatever it is, keep it. It suits you." Later that week, Noah asked her to come meet with one of the center's architects. "I'd like you to have input," he said. "You know what people like you really need." "I'm not a social worker." "No," he replied. "You're someone who's lived it." They spent 2 hours in the conference room sketching layouts. A therapy suite. A resource pantry. A quiet room with weighted blankets and noise-canceling headphones. Lily suggested a small library. Somewhere people can sit and feel smart again. He smiled. "That's the first thing I'll fund." At home that night, Lily opened her notebook again. She turned to the list she'd started weeks ago. The one with things I want to do for me. She read the last line. Maybe Noah? She underlined it once, then wrote beneath it. Definitely Noah. The envelope was thick, sealed with red wax. It didn't look like a bill, or a wedding invitation, or one of those glossy flyers from loan companies pretending to care. Lily found it wedged between her screen door and the frame just after sunrise. The early morning light filtered through humid Houston air, soft and gold. She could still hear her mother coughing in the back bedroom. She turned the envelope over in her hands, frowning at the name neatly handwritten in deep black ink. Ms. Lily Monroe. No return address. No logo. Inside was a letter, and a contract, and a check for $100,000. Lily sat down on the porch steps as the world around her tilted. She couldn't breathe. An hour earlier, Noah had stood in his home office, staring at the same envelope before slipping it into her mailbox himself. He could have mailed it, sent it by courier, made it official and impersonal. But that wasn't who she was, and it wasn't who he wanted to be, either. Lily read the letter 3 times before she even touched the check. Noah's handwriting filled 2 neat pages. He didn't praise her. He didn't flatter her. He told the truth. He wrote about the center, about the way her story had inspired not just the building, but the movement that was quietly forming behind it. He wrote about women like her. Strong, resourceful, exhausted, who were too often forgotten in the aftermath of disasters they helped others survive. He wrote about the board he'd formed, about the position he wanted her to take, Director of Community Development. The contract outlined the details. She would lead a new program at the Monroe Center, designed by survivors, for survivors. Paid training, flexible hours, healthcare benefits, a path to further education, if she wanted it. The check, a signing bonus, and a gesture of faith. Lily didn't cry, not at first. She folded the letter, tucked it into her apron pocket. Then she walked into the kitchen and started making coffee like it was any other morning. It wasn't until she heard her mother's oxygen machine hiss behind her that the tears came. Because this wasn't just money. It was a way out. It was proof that she was more than what had happened to her. That she was being chosen, not for her sacrifice, but for her strength. She called Noah that afternoon. He answered on the first ring. "You really just drop life-altering envelopes like pizza menus now?" she asked, her voice raw. He laughed softly. "Was that too much?" She paused. "No," she whispered. "It was everything. Do you want to talk about it?" "I want to say yes. I want to believe it's real." "It is." Lily sat on her back steps, feet bare against cracked concrete. The Houston heat curled around her like steam. "I don't have a college degree. You have more experience than most people who do. I've never spoken in front of a crowd. Then we'll start with one-on-ones. What if I screw up? Then you'll learn. And we'll figure it out. Together." She closed her eyes. "I'm scared." "I know," he said. "But I'm right here." 3 days later, Lily signed the contract. The Monroe Center team welcomed her like she'd always belonged. Not as a token, not as a story, but as a leader. They gave her a small office, a mentor, and a team of women. Most of them flood survivors themselves, who would help shape the first wave of programming. Lily's first idea? Flood Sisters. A support network for single mothers who'd lost homes, jobs, or loved ones during natural disasters. She didn't want it to be another charity. She wanted it to be fierce, honest, full of training and trauma support and financial rebuilding plans. The board approved the name on the spot. Meanwhile, back at Rosie's diner, Carla cried when Lily turned in her apron. "You were the one thing in here that always made sense," she said. "I'll still come for pancakes," Lily smiled. "You better. Or I'll come drag you out of that fancy office myself." That night, Noah invited Lily to his home. Not the corporate downtown office or the temporary apartment near the news center. His real home. The one he shared with Ava. A small, beautifully kept house just outside the Heights. He grilled. She brought coleslaw. Ava wore her favorite sparkly shoes and made them all wear paper crowns. After dinner, Ava fell asleep on the couch watching cartoons, and Lily found herself standing on the back porch with Noah. Neither of them spoke for a long time. The air buzzed with crickets and far-off sirens. The night sky was clear for once. The flood seemed 1,000 miles away. "I don't know where this is going," Lily said finally. "Me neither," Noah replied. "But I know it's more than gratitude." He looked at her. "I've been trying to find the right moment to say that." She met his eyes. "This moment works." Then, slowly, Like the tide turning after a long storm, they kissed. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't fireworks. It was soft. Sure. Real. Lily Monroe went to sleep that night, not wondering if she deserved love, or rest, or joy. She went to sleep knowing she had them, and that they were hers, earned, not borrowed. The morning sun cut through the sky like gold over wet glass. The streets outside the newly renovated Monroe Center sparkled, not just from the deep clean, but from the presence of people who had come from floodwaters, shelters, motel rooms, and second chances. And Lily Monroe, once the invisible waitress, stood in front of a crowd, wearing a fitted navy blazer and a name badge that read, Director, Lily Monroe. She smoothed her skirt one last time, took a slow breath, and stepped up to the podium. It still didn't feel real. She could hear Ava laughing somewhere in the crowd, could see her mother near the front row in a wheelchair, her face full of fragile pride. And next to her, Noah, silent, steady, present. A year ago, Lily was packing ketchup bottles at Rosie's and walking through ankle-deep floodwater, praying her shoes didn't split. Today, she was launching a movement. The Monroe Center was more than a building. It was proof that healing didn't have to be a solo journey. There were classrooms, therapy wings, a childcare nook with books and art supplies, a small pantry with canned goods and emergency kits, and a training lab for women looking to rebuild their careers. Every inch of the place carried fingerprints of the flood and fingerprints of hope. And every woman who walked through its doors was reminded that survival wasn't just about making it out alive. It was about finding life again on the other side. Lily adjusted the microphone. Her voice, though small at first, found its rhythm. I didn't grow up imagining I'd speak in front of people, she began. I imagined survival. Rent. Bills. Keeping my mama breathing. And I was okay with that. Because life doesn't hand people like me podiums. A hush fell across the crowd. But last year, when the water came and the sirens stopped and the city went dark, I found something that no one can ever take from me. She paused, then said clearly, I found purpose in the flood. Somewhere near the back, someone wiped their eyes. I didn't rescue that man and his daughter because I thought it would lead to this, Lily continued. I did it because someone needed help. Because I knew how it felt to be in the water alone. She turned toward Ava in the front row and smiled. She gave me back something I didn't know I'd lost. Hope. And this center isn't about me. It's about what happens when ordinary people do extraordinary things quietly, and the world finally stops to listen. The applause was thunderous. But Lily didn't cry. Not until after. Not until the ribbon was cut and the cameras turned off and the first women, 5 of them, walked into the new trauma counseling room with tears in their eyes. Then Lily stepped away, leaned against the hallway wall, and let the weight of everything pour out. Noah found her there. He didn't say anything at first, just took her hand. She looked up at him, laughing through tears. Was I okay up there? You weren't okay, he said. You were unforgettable. That evening, the Monroe Center cleared out. The volunteers went home. The staff started shutting down the lights. But Lily stayed behind, walking through each hallway like she needed to say goodbye to the woman she used to be. In the conference room, a framed photo sat waiting on the wall. It showed the aftermath of the flood, a cracked street, brown water, and Lily, soaked to the bone, holding Ava close while emergency lights flashed behind her. Underneath the photo were the words. She didn't wait to be rescued. She became the rescue. Lily stood in front of it for a long time. Then Noah came in, carrying 2 paper cups of coffee. Thought you might need this. She took it with a grateful smile. You always show up when I'm falling apart. No, he said. I just see you better than most. They sat in her new office as the sun set through tall windows. I keep thinking about that day, Lily said quietly. About how I almost walked the other way. I was so tired, Noah. So used to pretending the world didn't see me. But you didn't walk away. No, I didn't. And I'm starting to think that moment didn't just save you. It woke me up too. Noah reached across the table and gently touched her hand. You've always been awake, Lily. The rest of the world's just catching up. A few days later, Lily took her mother out to lunch at a small cafe near the center. While they waited for their food, her mother, who'd been quiet most of the morning, finally spoke. You know, baby, I used to pray you'd find someone who saw you. Lily looked up. You did. Her mother nodded. I didn't know it would come through floodwaters and headlines, but I'm glad he saw you. The man. But more importantly, the world. Lily smiled. I'm starting to see me too. The final scene wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a standing ovation or a romantic proposal. It was Lily walking into the Monroe Center on a rainy morning, umbrella in hand, stepping past women and children waiting for appointments, and being greeted by her staff with nods and warmth. It was her looking at the photo on the wall again, reminded of the night she changed someone's life and didn't even stay for a thank you. It was her whispering quietly, I was never just a waitress. I was always this. And walking forward like she belonged. Because now, she finally did. In a world that often forgets the quiet heroes, Lily Monroe's story reminds us that one moment, one choice, can alter the course of not just one life, but many. From floodwaters to foundation stones, she rose. Not for glory, not for attention, but because when no one else showed up, she did. And sometimes, that's all it takes to change everything. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that sometimes the smallest act of courage can ripple into something life-changing, then don't just scroll past. Hit that like button, subscribe to Ximon Stories, and turn on notifications. Because here, every story is a mirror, and the next one might just be yours. Thank you for watching.